How was your trip?
My trip was good. It was a blessing to have that experience. So yeah, definitely it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what stood out for you most about the experience?
What's the what?
What stood out for you the most about the experience?
What delighted me most, or
What stood out for you most about the experience?
oh, what stood out more?
Mm-hmm.
So I love to travel actually. I don't get to travel as much as I like.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to experience a new country,
Mm-hmm.
not as much as the culture itself because I didn't really get to really mingle with the
Mm-hmm.
natives as much as I would like, but just to experience that, I went to Mexico. I think some of you know that I'm Haitian, so Mexico uh, is one of the few true countries that I would say is a friend of Haiti. So
Right.
it was good to kind of experience that. But I think sometimes when you are going to a situation, you just focus on the negative aspect. I
Yes.
was present-minded enough to see the negative and also look at the abundance of being able to make that trip and being present to see and enjoy what I could
Mm-hmm.
and leaving off the rest because I had no control over the rest of it.
Yep.
So to me, it was good. So the fitment was with me, even even through it all. So believe me, I'm carrying the lessons. I cannot say I'm taking everything, but the lessons that I remember, I'm trying to apply them and being present minded to my different experiences. So
Mhm.
again, your work is making a difference in my life. I truly appreciate it.
So, what did the negativity or the challenges teach you? What did you learn in those moments?
I don't think it was necessarily learn. Well, actually, yes, I did learn. I
Okay.
could have done better homework in terms of the actual place and how far are the challenges to reach the authentic. When I go to somewhere, I don't like to be treated as a tourist per se. I
Right.
like to experience the authentic cultural exchange. I love to have that. So when I was doing the research, I didn't really look at how far. So I went to a resort in Mexico. I didn't really see how far the actual location was to the main street, which would have given me more ease to intermingle with the folks. So it was really deep inside. It was inconvenient to just walk it out yourself or to call a cab. So that wasn't so good. So the lesson learned is I need to do better homework. And the other adverse experience, if I could put it that way, is the location itself could use some serious rehab. And, there's nothing I could do about that. It just is. But again, even with that, I could still see the vision beyond the aesthetic. So even that, I was very mindful of that. So it wasn't that bad. I did not need to worry about lodging or food, which has been challenged in the past. So the benefit of being in a resort is that those at least are taken care of. And we made the most out of it, of the things that we could. So to me, it was a great time being able to just be. So
Yes.
thank you. I know I'm taking a lot of time.
No, 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 not
Thank you.
necessarily. Because remember, it is then within these day to day experiences that you recognize, you learn the most, and
No,
you
for
notice
sure.
the opportunities to also see where learning is taking place. Because a lot of times you just overlook the opportunity, like, this doesn't even make sense. But after, in hindsight, you recognize, wait, no, I actually learned something in that moment.
Right. Right. No, I
And
did.
also, just as you say, you made the notes, you realize, okay, next time I'm going to change this, and that is what it is about, because the experience is just the experience. You don't have to
It
attach
was.
feelings to the experience. You take the notes, and then, of course, you
And
try
keep it
again.
moving.
Yep.
That's right.
And
Thank you.
you
Good to
keep
be
it
here.
moving. Yeah. So that is really what is the most important aspect of any experience, because a lot of times you just take experiences as experiences, and you don't even, sometimes you don't sit to think, you don't self reflect, And in
Correct.
those moments, you miss a lot of the lessons, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you ignore the lessons. No. You know what the lesson is, but you choose to ignore it.
And there's always something to learn.
And you would recognize this lesson keeps coming over and over and over again. And those are the ones that we choose to ignore. But that is when you really have to pause and recognize, okay, I am missing something. Let me slow down and see what it is I am really missing in this moment
Right.
to really learn from it.
Yeah. And again, I know sometimes there's that sense of neutrality to the point where it's almost like even those fortunate moments skip by. At the same time, I wonder if there's room because with everything that's going on, especially here in America, in the United States, around immigration and what have you, honestly, part of the blessing went back years prior, where at some point I did not have my traveling papers.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of traveling outside of the US and coming back was not even a reality for me.
Yes.
So I even went back that far to just be present in the moment and to realize this in itself, you know,
Yes.
it's not just about being neutral in terms of the experience, but also appreciating the opportunity that has been offered to me at that very moment.
And also moving when told to move, because had you not moved, then you wouldn't have the opportunity.
That's right,
Yeah. You
for sure.
also have to move when the thought keeps coming, and a lot of times what we do, we put it off. No, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. No, and the
Mm,
person wasn't there,
right.
and not
Yeah.
realizing that the thought keeps coming because, of course, the universe know what coming, but you don't. So the things trying to align themselves, but you not in the space to receive, and that is why being in the present moment is important.
Correct.
Because if you were not there, all these opportunities would have been missed.
Correct. For sure.
You would have to wait a very long time again for it to come back, and
If ever.
that is the next thing, if ever, because you really have to be present. Being present is what is really most important. Being present, being intentional.
Yes.
But of course, we are working on living there all the time. And sometimes we dip in and we dip out. We dip in and we dip out. But it is about really remaining there always, so that the
Yes.
opportunities you have, of course, would not be missed. So everybody would be able to have the same or similar, not the same, but similar.
Similar. Mm-hmm.
Yes, similar. So thank you very much. And I am very happy that Befitment was with you. And yes, we had a
Yes.
good time as well.
Yes. Yes, it was good.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Appreciate you all.
yes, of course, we appreciate you as well. And for those who have just joined, how was your week? Wow. So this week was a trying week. Lisa, are you there? All right. Ebony, are you there?
Yeah, yeah, hello, I'm here, but could you give me a few minutes? I'm just trying to fix something before I come
Okay,
on.
okay.
Thanks.
Ebony, are you there? Okay, I guess not.
I'm
Pat.
here.
Oh, okay. How was your week?
Um, I guess it was good. I don't really have anything to report.
Okay.
It was just a week.
All right. Did you enjoy the week? Was it just chill? Was it laid back?
It was a lot of reflection.
A lot of?
Hopefully, reflections.
Okay. Well, yeah. Then that was a
Yeah,
good week.
yeah, it was.
Yeah. In reflection, that is where a lot of clarity comes. I was in a reflective mood last week as well. So that is a good place to be.
So I've been told.
Yes. And Pat, are you there?
Yeah,
All right. Hello. Good evening. And how was your week?
challenging,
All right.
meaning that, there were a lot of things that were like above what you thought you had to deal with, which is kind of big, but one by one, one by one, they're being handled slowly.
All right. Okay. And that is what is really important. And that is why tonight's topic is, of course, gaining momentum from the small wins. Because, a lot of times we ignore the small wins and we always focus on the big wins. So, why is that? Why is it that we focus on the small with the big wins but not the small ones? Isn't the small wins that lead up to the big wins? Isn't it all part of the same thing? But why do we tend to focus more on one aspect of it?
Because you could see the big wins better. It is in your face, small wins you could not notice.
Also, you tend to just bypass.
Yeah, but big wins, no, you say, yeah.
I think it's where you put your importance.
Okay.
If you if you're the kind of person who was raised in the space that says celebrate everything, everything is important, then you would naturally have the habit of celebrating the small wins, recognizing that they're going somewhere. Each step is a little bit of progress. But if you came from the space that said is all or nothing, then you would tend to discount the small steps in favor of the all. Or if it's not all, then it's nothing. If you didn't achieve the big thing, then you didn't achieve anything at all. So I guess it's conditioning.
But what does the big thing consist of? Doesn't it, like, say if you want to be a doctor, doesn't the big thing consist of a lot of the small wins? So going to school, going from each level, going up to the big thing, which is the doctor. So doesn't the big thing consist of
Yes, it does.
thing?
But if you've been conditioned to only see the doctor degree,
Mm-hmm.
then everything else is just the grind to get to this thing that you could you could expire before you achieve it. You could expire from the stress you gave yourself just trying to achieve it and not ever stop to recognize, okay, I made some progress here, I made some progress there. Okay, I slipped back a little bit, but it's okay, I'm going forward again. And so it really is the conditioning of the mind, of how you are raised, or how you position your own self,
Mm-hmm.
that you will see the small bits, because in the first place you would have established the small bits, and when you achieve the small bits, you're happy going forward because you achieved this is going somewhere. It's like building.
Mm-hmm.
But in the other way, it's like assuming that the house just showed up one day fully built.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to do anything at all. So you almost like blind yourself out to the progress, the steps, and you just put on your eyesight that will only see the final thing, the big thing. So
Okay. Which is understandable. But I would like to ask a question primarily because recently, well, of course, you know that befitment is in some schools. And recently, we had to go to one of these schools to speak to the teachers. And in speaking to the teachers, the question was asked, how do you balance your life? Because, as Katrin is explaining, once you remain focused on the big win, the big win, the big win, the big win, then what do you celebrate? When do you rest? When do you stop to reflect? Because remember, in that, you're always in go mode, go, 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 go. And with that, of course, what comes is stress and anxiety and a lot of doubt and a lot of fear, because you're looking at I remember once I was explaining to somebody, you're looking at the whole mountain, or you're looking at the whole cake thinking, how am I going to eat this cake? Just think of slice by slice, think of bite by bite, or step by step. Because once you look at the whole picture and you look at the doctor, and a lot of times, whereas yes, that is the goal and that is the intention, that is what you would like to achieve, but what is more important is the step that is directly in front of you in this moment. Because looking into 2020, I think being a doctor, it takes how long? I think it have theory and then it have practice. It's close to 10 years, right? Yeah, I think one of my cousins, they doing it, but not in Trinidad. I think it is close to 10 years with the residency and everything. If you think of 10 years from you, 2025, if you sit down and think about 2035 and trying to figure all those things out, where you're getting the money, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? And you would put so much stress upon yourself trying to fix and get everything together, because that same cousin, years ago, he was supposed to say go to do his degree in Germany. And of course, he's from Trinidad, so he has to learn how to speak German as well. And the year that he was supposed to go, he wasn't able to. And he was so angry, he was frustrated, stress, anxiety, every single solitary thing under the sun was happening with him. Because he was so angry and he was thinking that I'm ready for this opportunity now. And then lo and behold, the next year, of course, he reapplied, got in. And when you look at how it unfolded in that year, when he went, he was bunked with a Trini. And all these little things just came together to facilitate every single thing that he required. Who goes to university in Germany and meets another Trinidadian to help you with your schoolwork, to help you with the running around, to help you with registration, to help you with where to find all the restaurants, how to get to school, which class, with your classes, to help you with your German. And again, if we keep looking at, while the end is important, but really what is really more important is the small, consistent steps that you put in place day after day. And just like my cousin, if you do not get to go this year, remain consistent. Because a lot of times, as you know, of course, I'll use the example of exercise. So you set out and are going to do it 5 times a week, you miss one day, then you never go back to doing it again. You understand? Because that is what we tend to do. We miss one day, you throw the whole pot off the stove because you're angry. But had my cousin done that, he would not have finished his degree. He would not have moved on. And it is the same thing with everybody else. A lot of times, okay, you think you're prepared. And even as you might miss the train, once you remain consistent, you would recognize, okay, let me prepare myself even better so that when the opportunity presents itself again, once it does, I will ensure that I am on that train. Yes, Katrin, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
What I was going to say is sometimes if you stop to acknowledge the small steps, there's also the opportunity to see whether you really still want that big goal.
Yes.
whether that goal had been set based on other people's expectations, whether you saw somebody, so because I remember what it was one guy I worked with, and he was so in love with cars and engines and everything else. And so one day I asked him, I said, well, how did you come to do a degree in chemical engineering when you're so in love with engines and cars and mechanics? And he said that on the day of registration, it was the last day for him to register for courses. And he was in the line going up with some friends, and he couldn't remember the code for mechanical engineering. So he asked them, what's the code? And they gave him a code and he wrote it down, but they were doing chemical engineering. So that's how he ended up in chemical engineering. He did it and he did it well because he was intelligent enough, but that's not where he left his house to go and register for. So you may even get an opportunity to see. And he said, to tell the truth, I was just too lazy to go and file the thing to change it. So I said, don't do so already. So I left it like that. So by paying attention to the small steps, the small wins, it might even give you a chance to say, well, why is this so difficult for me to go forward? Why am I struggling like this? I'm winning, but I have to struggle really hard. Then you may get an opportunity to say, well, you're getting through because you have a little bit of intelligence and things work around it. But maybe that's not where you're really supposed to go. Or maybe this is just for time. So it gives you an opportunity to do that kind of reflecting, self-reflection. But if you never, ever pay attention, and I remember in one of my classes that I gave, a young lady said the same thing, and I was so shocked to hear it. It hurt my heart. She said she does not understand what it is to celebrate. Because if she is not at the top where she wants to be, there's nothing to celebrate. You just keep going until you get to the top. And I remember asking her, so if you never get to the top, well, then she would have failed. That was her response. So it's all in the conditioning.
Yes, it is all in the conditioning. And I think what a lot of people tend to miss is that the purpose of the pause. We don't see the purpose of the pause at all. Not realizing that when you stop to pause, when you even stop to celebrate, you would recognize that sometimes your mind's so cluttered with tomorrow, with yesterday, with what didn't work out, with electricity when this morning you didn't get the annuals before you go to work, with you went to the gas station and it had no gas, you went to the ATM, there was no money, so you have to go to another ATM. Sometimes your mind's so cluttered with all these things that you don't slow down enough to get the answers that you're really seeking. So what would tend to happen is that when you slow to rest or you slow down to even celebrate, in the celebration, a lot of the times that is when the solution comes. You need to slow. Just as in noise, or even for, well, the ladies here. You know, sometimes when we have on the GPS, you have to turn down the volume on the radio to focus because you tend to can't figure it out if the volume is too loud on the radio. When you're trying to find somewhere for the first time, you need complete silence. And it is the same thing. Sometimes you just need complete silence for the answers to flow, for the solutions to flow. But once you stay in the noise and you stay in the mental clutter, then how can clarity really come? How can clarity really come? And even before moving forward with anything, even though you might be experiencing fear, have you all ever asked yourself genuinely, when you are feeling fear, you ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Like, sit with yourself and ask yourself, why am I feeling this?
You sit with yourself, but sometimes you don't like the answer. So you try to hop over the answer and go and look for another answer.
Yeah.
And you don't really get another answer, you just get a version of the first answer. And you try to skip over answer number 2, version number 4, 6, 8, 10, and 15 until you have to deal with answer number 1, which was always going to be the answer.
Yeah.
So,
Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes, I wanted to say that celebrating the small wins is a form of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And gratitude in itself gives you the hope and the courage to keep going on. So celebrating the small wins is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying thank you, I reach here. And then you start to feel good. Okay, if I could reach here, then I
Yes.
could reach there.
Yes.
And if I reach there, then and you just keep going. You're just being grateful and you just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And in doing so, you see, you would move from step to step. So even if you feel fear, you identify, okay, I am feeling this because, okay. And a lot of times when you really think about why you're feeling the fear, is a sort of muddled. Sometimes the things, when you really sit down and look at it, they don't even have that much significance. A lot of times you blow it up a little bit out of proportion because of prior experiences, because of certain beliefs. But really, when you sit with it and you recognize, you ask yourself, why am I feeling this? You realize, okay, all right. And then you will realize, okay, the solution's coming for me to overcome whatever it is I am feeling. And then you would be able to move from step to step. Because once you don't, you stay right there. You stay stuck. And of course, the years just continuing to move. The years continuing to move. But of the most, another important thing that you have to be mindful of is, of course, your mindset. If you don't believe you can move on to the next step, then you will not move on to the next step. Sometimes you have some persons you might have conversations with and you realize that you have known them for 10 years, and for 10 years they are telling you the same story. Yeah. Because once you remain in that space, that is where you would stay. And again, you have the same resolution, the same goals year after year, and life will continue to pass you by. And then
So I wanted to agree with I'm sorry, I don't remember her name when she talked about
Anastasia.
gratitude. Anastasia was
Mhm.
talking about gratitude, and if I could say big amen, I would, because that's exactly what I was thinking all along. Because I think sometimes there's this sense about being in abundance, living in a state of abundance. You
Yes.
must also, I believe, should also have a sense of gratitude
Mhm.
and being able to savor every moment and being mindful of every moment of every win. I think that speaks to you, to your mind, to your environment. And to me, it's like it's such a magical thing. And this is something I had to learn, to be honest. And I learned it more from this place that I work, even before I started to work with them. They have this thing about celebrating the small wins, right? It's not just about the destination, but being in this journey. There are steps in that journey that is worth stopping and celebrating, acknowledging, and again, getting into that state of abundance and gratitude. So, yeah, I'm so grateful you mentioned that. So, thank you.
Yes. And what happens also is that gratitude tends to release the larger thing that you really wanted. But if you don't stay in that moment to celebrate it, then you would never experience it. And I know a lot of times when we look at even moments or the small things, we look at it and we say, no, that's not important enough to celebrate, or I am not important enough to celebrate in this moment. Yeah? A lot of times when you get this small thing, you say, nah, this not important enough. When I get then I would celebrate it. And you just keep missing the opportunities. But any little opportunity that you have to celebrate life, to celebrate the small things, you certainly could. And it doesn't necessarily have to be anything big, grand. It could simply be, listen, I always wanted to go and try this ice cream. This ice cream is $500 for a cone. But I always wanted to try this ice cream, so I'm going to try this ice cream. It could be the smallest thing. Today, I am celebrating by just relaxing and doing what? Watching the series that I hear everybody talking about. I am just going to celebrate by reading a book. I am going to celebrate by drinking some wine. But sometimes we look at the moment and we think this is not important enough to celebrate. But why not just celebrate you? Celebrate you changing your mindset. Celebrate you experiencing new things. Celebrate you adapting when the changes come. It is in all those little things, because if you are not your biggest cheerleader, who will be your biggest cheerleader if you are not it? Sometimes you have to cheer for yourself. Sometimes you really, really have to cheer for yourself. Because if you don't and you keep waiting, sometimes the things you're waiting on you. Who in here celebrates frequently? Nobody?
Me, I celebrate frequently. I like celebrations.
Okay, and
Birthday,
what?
Easter,
Okay,
Valentine, Christmas, every life. Celebrate. I like
and what do
celebrations.
you do to celebrate?
Well, what I find is celebrations always include eating, which, which I think I have to find another way, you know. But it always have eaten in it. Yeah, you go breakfast, you go, well, you go to the movies, you pick up yourself, you say, I don't know, I don't like boredom. I hate boredom. I hate same old, and I just look for different things to do, and the different things is celebrating life. Life's supposed to be a variety, and
Yeah,
you find different things to do.
okay. All right, so we have one. Who else takes the time to celebrate?
I when I achieve something that I was going behind, I just find something to do to celebrate myself.
Okay.
If it's to go and buy something nice,
Mm-hmm.
or to sit down and think through my thing, and go and explain to somebody how to do it or something, I just celebrate the things that I have achieved.
Okay. Anyone else? Wow, we have a lot of non-celebrators.
Well, I don't do it as often as I think I could, but for me, I could just dance around my living room. All that is celebrating, depending on whatever is in my mind at that time. And some might put on some music and just sing and dance. I could have my own party.
Okay.
And no, sometimes I get a little I wouldn't call it cheap. I really wouldn't call it cheap. But sometimes I say, well, I can have a glass of wine. Oh yes, a glass of wine. And then I figure out I can have a whole bottle of wine for a glass of wine. All
Mm.
right, let me find something else, yes? Perhaps a shandy. At least I could drink that down in one. But so I think I could improve there, because then I start to take away from what I really wanted to do in terms of celebration. But I think for me that I think I could do it a little bit more, a
Yes.
little bit more. And for me, celebrating is also when I could just lie down and sleep, you know.
It's one of my major
Sleep
weaknesses.
late on a Saturday morning. That is great celebration for me. I just lay on my bed and look at the sun streaming through and hear the birds and I say, yes, it's so wonderful just to be able to appreciate this. I don't have to get up and move.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's not always because I really don't have lost interest, so to speak, in a lot of the commercial holidays. So Valentine's and all of that kind of lost interest. So I could find my own little things to celebrate. Although I really need to up the level of celebrating a little bit more.
Hmm. I celebrate a lot of things. Well, it's just to find enjoyment in the little things. So, like ice cream is my very good friend. Just like Anastasia, I love to eat. I would go far and wide to eat whatever I would like to eat. Sunday lunch on a Tuesday, yes. I celebrate by going in nature. I like nature things. I love the beach. When I'm on the beach, nothing else matters. And my forehead is telling the tale because of all the sunburn. So there is always the little things that you enjoy. Sometimes just as Catherine too, I love the days when I cooked yesterday and I do not have to move today. Love, 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 love. You might eat breakfast, you fall back asleep, and then you get up and you're feeling well rested. Yes, I celebrate all of them. All of them are there to be celebrated. Yes, Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
I wanted to say like the celebration don't have to be a lot of hooray and hurrah all the time. Just what you always saying, just the stillness, the peace. All of that is celebration. So
Yes,
different occasion calls for different types of celebration.
yes, yes,
you know.
yes,
And
yes.
it's all what the soul want as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is, of course, also in the little things. Yes, we tend to recognize the things that are more grandeur, but it is really in the little things and it is in the small steps because the small, consistent step will ensure that the big things get there. But how do you get over instances when you're feeling like, okay, I reach a plateau and I don't know how to move on from here? You know what will help you? Celebration. Because in celebrating in those moments, again, remember all the worries, the stress, everything, it removes. It isn't there anymore. So now you have the opportunity for the new thoughts to come, for the new things to flow. And that is where sometimes you get all the inspiration. You go on the beach, you sit down by yourself, and you're just relaxing, the inspiration comes. You pause to take a rest, the inspiration comes. You might go on a walk, you might go to the zoo, the inspiration comes. But then what are you doing in terms of balance? Whenever you're feeling plateaued and you're feeling stuck, then something is certainly missing and you need to revisit balance in life. Because then you might be too focused in one area and ignoring the other areas. So, in those moments, what do you do? How do you get yourself out of it? Or do you tend to stay stressed and stuck?
I think for me, I would have said previously, I would have stayed stuck. But now, knowing what I know, the knowledge that I have, the tools that I've acquired, and I think not just waiting until you're stuck, but applying the tools daily. Now, when I find myself in situations, I will go back to positive reinforcements, positive reinforcements in terms of looking back at not things that I've experienced and looking at it from a negative perspective, but looking at it from a positive perspective where I know I have overcome the challenge. I know I have overcome that situation. And in knowing that I've overcome that and knowing who I am and the grandeur of the universe and how it works, then even though I don't believe it 100%, I will keep reiterating it to myself because I know that I know that I know that I would overcome. Yes, the challenge is here. Yes, I'm faced with the challenge, but just like I overcame all the other challenges, I know I would overcome this challenge. So it's just you get in the moment, but another thing that I am really mindful of is being present. Because right now I'm working on, letting money come and work and be my friend and that type of stuff. But when I say like live in the moment and be present, you would say, we always have bills, we always have financial responsibilities, we always have a lot of things that's in the future. But presently, where am I? Presently, I paid whatever bill I could have paid. I did whatever I could have done. And I am grateful that I had the resources to do what I was able to do. And in doing that and in living in the moment, tomorrow is another day. God will, the universe will provide. Things will work out how it needs to be worked out. But right now, I'm good. Right now, I'm okay. So, I still get overwhelmed, but I always go back to I was able to make it through everything else, and why wouldn't I be able to make it through now? And I keep reminding myself of that, consciously reminding myself of that every day. So I think before I might have got flustered and, you know, aggravated and worried and stuff like that. And I'm not saying I'm at the point where I don't get like that, but I just try to keep myself neutral in knowing that it is going to work out.
Because at the end of the day, everything that you are faced with is for you. It is for your benefit, it is for your growth. Everything that you are faced with, every challenge, remember in that moment, this was sent for me to expand myself. What are you going to do? Are you going to choose to stay as you are, or are you going to choose to make a different choice and develop yourself? What you're going to do in the moment. A lot of times we choose to remain as we are without even seeing that this challenge is really a lesson. Because a lot of times, as soon as you hear the word challenge, oh my gosh, it's too hard. This has too much pain attached to it. It requires too much effort. So once the challenge comes, you head in the next direction. And when you head in the next direction, you see the challenge still there and it expanded, now it's bigger. He went and he got his cousins and came back. So now you have to deal with all of them. You're not dealing with one again, you're dealing with about 5. Because once the challenges go and they come back, they're coming back with ammunition. And of course, now again, you're running another direction, and 3 months pass and you see it pop up again. Why the same things always happening to me? What did you do when faced with the first challenge? Did you face it or did you run? And once you run or you resist the challenge, it is going to continue to show up. It is as though you're in Form 1 and you have to do this test to get to Form 2. And the test will continue to show up in different experiences, in different persons, in different workplaces. So if you think you quit the job and you get rid of it, no, it's coming in your workplace. Sometimes even within your own family. You think that you dealt with it today and it pops up its head in 4 months to come. Did you really deal with it? So a lot of times the thing that you are running from, you just postpone the lesson. It is coming again. And again, once you're seeing and you're feeling the fear, you ask yourself in a moment, why am I feeling this? And you would recognize, okay, the reason will come to the surface. And then you deal with it from there. If you still don't know how to deal with it, feel free. You can reach out to Befitment at 3361809. You could send us a message, and we would also be willing to assist you. But running from it is not going to solve any problems. It is just going to create more. And continuing to cover down the issues that you are currently facing is not going to solve any problems either. It is going to create more.
Adana,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to cut you off. I know from my experience, a lot of time is sometimes it's not like we willingly run from it, but a lot of times fear steps in.
Yep.
A lot of times, you might have been going to whatever church, whatever from generations. You hear your parents saying certain things or certain sayings, but you just don't know where to start. You
Yeah.
just don't know how to. You look at the picture, you see the cake and it's well icing, but you just don't know the first step
Mm-hmm.
to make the cake in the recipe. What ingredients? You might even have the ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
but you just don't know how to. So I think a lot of times the fear steps in. We don't know how to,
Mm-hmm.
and we divert, we avoid,
Yes.
and we don't realize that by doing that, we kind of digging ourselves deeper and deeper
Yeah.
because we have
Yeah.
to then stand and face it, stand and conquer your fear, stand. And it's not always easy. I don't like roller coasters. I'm not going on roller coasters. That's my fear. That's my thing. I ain't going. You know what I mean? Maybe if it is some heightened situation where I'm forced to go, I probably will. But when it comes to you, I know for me wanting to build and improve on yourself, you have to push through
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times if you don't and it keeps piling on and it piles on gradually, but you don't even know when your bucket is full.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it reached the cap and it starts overflowing and you see yourself tumbling down and you don't know what to do, how to do anything. But we don't realize that the little things that it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. But to make the change, we have to stand and face ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the truth, but face ourselves. And by facing ourselves and being truthful with ourselves and being honest with ourselves, no one is perfect. you know Everyone has whatever they have to work on, but you have to be honest with yourself
Yeah.
and look at yourself and be like, I have to work on X, Y, and Z. This is a part of me that I know I would like to improve on, and make a conscious effort to work through it. Like I said, like you said, if you don't know how to, Befitment is there, and I could speak on my behalf. Befitment has continued to help me work and improve on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people, you could get the messages from friends, family, foes, whatever. But if you don't take stock of yourself, you would hear the same messages from different people. You'd have the same experiences in different circumstances. And like Adana saying, you're going to be asking yourself, why? But outside of why, what's the reason?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing to make the change? What am I doing to make a difference in my life? And really sit with yourself and learn about yourself and see where you fall short, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and invest in yourself to want to improve on yourself.
Yeah.
Because time is going by. Is already half the years
More than
already.
half the year. Yes.
So, and a lot of times we're so caught up in, well, my mother or this one or this is what I have going on, and one did this to me, and that one did that one to me, that to me, and that's the past. You have to learn to heal from that. You have to want to let go of that, because as long as you're holding on to those boulders going up the hill, it's going to keep pulling you back. So you have to want to be free.
Mm-hmm.
You have to want that for yourself. Nobody could want that for you. You have to really want to let go of those boulders, because I want to see the top of the hill. Now that you know what you know, before befitment, and there are certain things you wouldn't hear, but now that you're hearing what you're hearing, how long are you going to sit living in the past? Know that you know better.
Yeah.
How long you're going to sit twirling in the mud, now that you know there's a way to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But no one could do it for you. You have to want to do it for
Yes.
yourself. You have to want to free yourself of that. And I'm not saying it's easy, but what I'm saying is, being in befitment, there is a way to get to know how to. If you didn't know how to before, if you're not even sure of what you would like to work on, befitment, talk to them. I'm uncertain of this. I'm uncertain. I know I have this feeling. I don't know how to, you know, transcribe whatever I'm feeling, or I don't know what to do, what I'm doing. You have people. So, you have people who are willing to help you, but you have to be willing to help yourself.
You see.
You have to be willing to put that work in for yourself. So,
Yep.
like I said, I knew I was at a place where I knew that I had a problem. I didn't know how to deal with the problem. I didn't know what was the first step, because I remember having conversation. I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know what to do, but you just take 1 inch of a step, gradually, day by day, but being consistent, and believe you me, it will come to you in terms of what to do and how to do it.
Yes. And funny enough, as Lisa was speaking, I remember this weekend I saw a TikTok that was very profound to me, because there is this lady on TikTok, and she is doing videos about procrastination. So, like, for example, she has to clean a room, and she would say, I have procrastinated about cleaning this room for a year. Let me see how long it would take. So, all of the things, her page is titled How Long It Would Take. And mind you, the room that she was procrastinating to clean for over a year took her 30 minutes to clean. So procrastinating about something that would take 30 minutes took you 1 year to do so. How many 30 minutes makes up a year? When you really think about it, another room I think she wanted to do, or I can't remember which aspect. So she would go to different places in the house. The drawer in the kitchen with all the utensils and the spoons. Yes, that was one as well. And she sorted it out, threw away some stuff, organized everything. I think that took her 45 minutes. Sometimes the things that you are procrastinating about takes not even an hour. Not
But
even an hour.
I think the thing about it is, once you align, it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go into the confusion in the place, going in confused, that's when it will take you a year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in and allow yourself to be guided
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what's the first step, and it says, okay, so then move this plastic bag from here and put it here. And then you do that simple step, and then something else will say, well, you know what, let's move this from here and do it that. And that, I think, it's almost like when you're cooking and you didn't get enough rest, and you go into the kitchen and things are just going haywire and things are falling and breaking. But once you in that calm space, happy space, you find yourself finishing cook, in an hour, versus you think it would have taken you 3 hours. I think it's the same thing. When you go in and allow yourself to be guided, things seem to always work out a lot easier, a lot faster, and a lot smoother than when you go in feeling all confused.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And even for this week, I am not sure. Let me just share something with you all. Because this week, the posts have been focused on a lot of fear and doubt and insecurity. So let me show you where to find it. So, of course, this is the app. And then the first one is discipline and motivation. So the post said true living begins outside of your comfort zone, never within. Because, of course, to celebrate the small wins and to also gain momentum from the small wins, it is outside of your comfort zone. It is never inside your comfort zone. How can you attain any desire without clear intention and the motivation to do so? Wherever there is fear, there is also freedom. So I'll just read in a little bit from the write-up. Just a moment. All right. So ask yourself, what have I avoided out of fear? That very thing, the challenge that makes your pulse quicken and the risk that keeps you up at night, is where your growth lies. Every great innovator, leader, and pioneer faced uncertainty. What set them apart was their refusal to let the fear dictate their choices. Wherever there is fear, there is also opportunity. The anxiety you feel before taking a leap is not a warning, it is a signal. It means you're on the edge of something meaningful. The fear of failure, rejection, or discomfort is not a barrier, it is a doorway to liberation. And freedom, of course, is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of it. It is the decision to move forward despite the voice that whispers, what if I fail? The answer is simple. What if you don't try? Because regret is far heavier than failure. So you would recognize also that for this week, of course, it was preparing us for Monday. And I want to read one more thing for you in fear and doubt, where the guy is sitting on the bike. No, he's sitting at the side of the road with the bike, right? All right, just now people keep getting bumped out. Okay, so the path of self-discovery does not reveal the self, but unveils the shadows again we fear to face. Only in surrender to what is unknown do we find the freedom we were seeking all along. And starting with this paragraph, what we fear most, the unknown, the formless, and the unresolved, is precisely where liberation lies. To step into that darkness is not to lose oneself, but to dissolve the false boundaries that have kept us trapped. The shadows we resist hold the keys to our deepest wisdom. They are not the enemies to be conquered, but guides pointing us towards a truth far greater than the fragile fiction of a fixed identity. The path of self discovery then is not about finding, but actually unbecoming. The great irony is that it does not lead us to some polished final version of ourselves. Instead, it strips away everything we thought we were, layer by layer, illusion by illusion, until nothing but raw presence remains. Naked as we were born, we enter the journey believing we are searching for something, only to realize that what we truly seek is the courage to let go. And the courage to let go is really to let go of the things you know that are not working for you and adopt something new. Because really, there is another post we did on Saturday where when was the last time you check your toolbox to see if any of your tools obsolete? How many things you're trying to make work in your life and it obsolete? I was having this conversation with somebody on Sunday about upgrading the phone, and nothing was working because your phone, listen, 1 year is about close to 10 years in phone years. The technology has so far greater improved where, and the person has a new phone now and she's so excited and the amount of things she's able to do, and sometimes, and of course she was trying to hold on to the phone for dear life. I didn't buy this so long, why it's not working again? But sometimes the things that you're holding on to keeping you back, it's not serving you at all. You really have to do some introspection. You really have to do some self-reflection, of course, and understand the importance of celebrating the small wins, because that is where you would gain momentum from. And of course, you ignore it, but it really is important. You are important to celebrate. Your wins are also important to celebrate. Even though you may not think of yourself as that, or you might be thinking of yourself as that is, you're thinking that the word not coming to me right now. That you don't want to think that you're better than, so you don't want to celebrate. Celebrate yourself. When was the last time you took time to celebrate you? When was the last time you took time to celebrate your unique abilities? We are not all the same. When was the last time you took time to celebrate your uniqueness? You're always thinking, I am not important enough, or this is not important enough, this experience not big enough. There is always an excuse as to why you're not doing it. So for this week, in addition to the Junior Schools question, find something to celebrate. It could be the simplest thing. It could be that you woke up today and your knee not hurting. It could be that you woke up today and you drank the amount of water you would have liked to drink. It could be that you got up, you put your clothes on to go out and walk. Rain started to fall, so you walked around your house 4 times. Celebrate the little wins towards your goal, and in doing so, you would build the momentum. Because when you celebrate, do you not feel to do more? Do you not think, okay, yes, I could achieve this. Yes, I could handle this. Yes. I'm not feeling so much fear again, because the fear would tend to dissipate. But if you don't celebrate and if you don't make the step, then everything would stay and everything would increase. And remember, the challenges going home for their cousins to come back. It is not one singular static thing, it is going to increase. And when you meet it in 3 months, you would wish that you had faced it 3 months ago. Because now sometimes it gets so overwhelming. And that is why befitment is structured as it is structured. So just as I could have read where the post from this week integrated to what tonight's topic is, and also for those who really want the in-depth information, because Mondays are the tip of the iceberg. For those who attend Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they would know that they come with books and pens and paper, because a lot of times unknowingly you are missing a lot of the steps, a lot of the way more of the tools that is required for whatever it is you need clarity on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is really the deep dive. Monday is just the tip of the iceberg. For those who attend during the week, they can tell you. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the blueprint, really, for whatever the topic is on a Monday. So if it is something that you are interested in, again, just as Lisa said, you really have to make the choice for yourself. And sometimes you are thinking that this is too much and this required a lot of effort, and it might just take you, just as the TikTok lady, 30 minutes. Sometimes you're looking at this thing and procrastinating, and you're thinking that is this big thing and it might take you 15 minutes. Or you might be looking to the answer for something and enjoying any session, you would recognize, oh, that is how that is done. And I was struggling with this for so long, and I could have joined the sessions so much longer before and really get the help that I really needed. You understand? A lot of times you're just putting yourself first, putting it off, putting it off. But it is really an investment in yourself. And for those who have done it, they are certainly enjoying the benefits of it. Because you would recognize that your mindset changing, a lot of things that would usually get you angry and have you feeling overwhelmed, you realize, wait, I am handling and managing this a lot more better. Sometimes you're with somebody who you like, or you tend to control or try to control situations, and you're realizing that all I need to do is focus on me, I honestly don't even need to attempt to control anything, because once I am in the flow, everything will be taken care of. Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
As you were speaking there, Dana, what was on my mind was sometimes, at least for me, when I look at trying to accomplish something literally, it tends to be a thing. Whether it's not a tangible thing, as in, okay, I want to purchase something, I want to get something, but when I look at improving me, being a better me, meaning working on me, and not using better as in trying to get something more, but to get rid of certain things that should not be there in order for the real me to be able to experience the other things, then I'm a little bit, I want to use the word better there. But because I know if I get what I need to get done, meaning I need to work on me, focus on me, and get to where I'm supposed to be, then everything else, all the things that you're looking for, they fall into place very nicely. So for me, and the last week or so, I found things a bit, I'm looking at things, and with my own understanding, I would say I found them a bit shaky. And then you'd go back into self, or to look at some things around you and say, this is probably where it is, and this is. But for me, if I focus more on working on me, then the other things are assured. I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that, as opposed to focusing almost exclusively, which is what I used to do, on trying to see how to get the thing. And the thing, by not getting it, you're getting a little bit more frustrated. Like when I heard Lisa talk about we almost, half the year is almost gone. And I remember last year, when we got close to the end of the year, there was a sense of, I can't believe this already. But for me this year, you know what? for me, may not work for other people, but for me, I am moving that point that the year is coming to the end and it's half year gone, and no, I am moving that point. I am moving that because it's not even the same year in Ethiopia right now. So, which means a year is fluid. A year is where you every day is the beginning of your year. So I've decided to move that point of anxiety and just focus on, okay, this is what it is. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to accomplish. This is how I want to be experiencing life. And trying not to look at this December month, because for me, that represents a point of anxiety. And it would cause me to miss the little wins by saying, okay, oh, and then it will also lead me to comparison. And comparison is not where you want to be. Comparison for me is the source of all anxiety. So I have decided to remove that December consideration out the door and just focus on, if I focus on these things that are me building, these things could come right away. Right away. They don't have to wait for December. They don't have to wait for any particular month. If you could just get you where it's supposed to be. So this is my, you want to call it plan? This is where I am right now. Yeah.
Could I just say something based on kind of what Catherine was saying? But when Adana, when you were speaking and you talk about regrets, what came to me was the human body as we age and become older. We tend to live in regret. What I could have done, what I should have done, what I missed, what I, could have done better. And in dealing with that, so that we're starting from where we are now with what we have, with the knowledge and stuff that we have. We can't go back, we can't erase the past, we can't change the past, but we certainly could change the future. So starting from where you are now, don't let, I know Catherine, what she's saying, it makes sense. We're not counting, the end of the year, December, putting a number, but don't let December meet you right where you are now. And then it's piling on to more regrets because I should have, could have, but I didn't. Because a lot of times when we get old, it's like, we get older, it's like we start looking at the number and we're saying, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So make the most of the time that you do have. Like Catherine said, don't look at December, but invest in yourself and make the most of the time that you do have. You are your biggest asset. Invest in yourself. We're learning so much about karma, and if you don't do certain things, you're going to have to kind of redo it again. So do you really want to waste this time to come back to start from somewhere, going backwards, or you want to come back and be ahead of the game? Now that you know what you know, now that you have the steps, like I said, we can't change the past. We came into this world not remembering, not applying, no fault of no one. But now that we know what we know, let's make good use of it moving forward so that we don't have regrets moving forward. And look back to this day of July 7th, 2025, and be like, on this day I should have. We're here now, we know better. we could do better.
You could certainly always do better than you are currently doing. And again, it is based on what would you like to experience. The life that you would like to experience is right there. Sometimes, again, because of fear and doubt and clutter and a lot of different things, you're thinking that you cannot experience, but there is a way to experience the life that you would like to experience. Everybody experiences are different, and you, of course, know what you would like to experience. But how are you going to move from where you currently are to there? What are the steps in between? If you do not know what these steps are, again, that is why Befitment has constructed the classes that we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to facilitate that. A lot of times, just as Lisa saying, you might have the ingredients, you don't know what order in which they are going. If you would like to know what the order is, then feel free to reach out to us because this is a major, major self investment. A lot of the times you're thinking you're not achieving and you might be missing one little thing. One little thing, one little mindset change, one little adjustment. But again, how important is yourself to you to really ensure that you achieve the things that you would like to achieve? Because we all have things we would like to achieve. We all have hurdles we would like to overcome. We all have things that we are struggling with, certain pains, certain things we are suffering from. It could be grief, sometimes, of course, loss, because that is what really impacts us the most. And even in instances like that, there are ways to move forward. You are just unaware of the ways to move forward. And you're sitting thinking that there is no way forward and there is another way that you could move forward. And it might even be way more simpler than you think. But if you keep sitting and looking at it and procrastinating, then you really wouldn't find out what it is. And sometimes it does not even require as much effort as you think it does. Just as the lady on TikTok, how long will this take? And it took a lot in most of them. It took, not most, all, it took a lot less time and effort than she even expected it to take. And sometimes, again, everything begins in your mind. If you think it is going to take a long time, of course, it will take you a year to complete something in 30 minutes. The goals that you would like to achieve, they are achievable. Do you really want to achieve them? Is the question. Because just as the write up said on the post in the app, on the other side of fear, there is where the freedom is. That is where the signal is. That is the direction in which you are supposed to be heading. And even if you are heading in that direction and you are unaware of how to really get it done or which step should go in front the next, feel free to reach out to us. This is not just I am just saying it because it sounds good. No. Befitment is really here to help you along the way. Whatever area in your life that you may be struggling with. It could be anything. You could reach out to us. There is support via the social media. There is support on the app. If you would like a consultation, you could do that as well. Invest in you. The thing that is keeping you back, that you are struggling with, it can be overcome. It might be looking like a mountain right now, but once you manage it step by step, you would realize, no, wait, this can be overcome. And there are a lot of people who started stuck and now they have freed themselves and they are certainly soaring.
I think the greatest fear is taking the first step.
Yeah, it usually is.
You're most fearful when it comes to taking the first step. But when you do take the first step, then you realize that, you know what, I have what it takes to do this. But if you're always afraid of, putting your toe in the water to test the temperature of the water, you would never know.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really push through that fear and just take this first step. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest fear is taking the first step.
Yep.
The hardest challenge is taking the first step. But I think once you admit to yourself and be true to yourself and know that you want to improve on yourself, that in itself is a big accomplishment.
Yes.
And then that's the first step: admitting, acknowledging.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like Adana is saying, you admit, you acknowledge, I have this problem, I have this thing that I want to work on. I don't know how. Befitment is there. You just call, have a conversation, send a text, whatever. I have this situation, or I feel this way about myself, but I don't know how to take the first step.
Mm-hmm.
That's the second step in overcoming the fear. And it's something as simple as a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Where they will be like, okay, well, I think you should, just go in the park and just walk for 15 minutes just to clear your head. Third step. And sometimes it's just that simple. But if we don't take the time to sit within ourselves and acknowledge and accept and admit and want to, then we'll be here.
Yes.
Saying the same thing.
Saying the same
month
thing.
after month, year after year.
And one thing that we have recognized, especially in school, is that everybody is experiencing the same thing and nobody is willing to speak up. And once you speak up, you would get the solution and all. Everybody. So if you're thinking, I don't want people to know, we all been through it. We have all been there. We have all experienced it. We have all been fearful about it. We have all been stuck about it. We have all been procrastinating about it. We have all been there. You are no different. So the thing that you might be ashamed to say to get help with, we have also experienced it and you just don't know. And sometimes it is in having that simple conversation that person would let you know, this is what I tried, this is what worked. And of course, that would be your opportunity to also broaden your horizon, broaden your understanding. Whereas you're thinking I'm stuck and there is no way out of this, I cannot receive any help, I am just going to stay here and perish. But there is another way to live. You are just unaware. That is all it is, You are just unaware. But there is another way to live. And in saying that, let me also let you know what are the topics for this week that would also be expanding on momentum as it relates to the small wins that we discussed tonight. So for tomorrow, okay, just 1 minute. Of course, we have the counseling and consultations, and then from 6 p.m. we have becoming the person who achieves. So understanding and reinforcing identity success. And from 7, we have our fuel and flex body workout. And of course, for premium members, this is also part of your package. And if you cannot physically come, you can log on online in order to join as well. On Wednesday, we have counseling and consultations. And then from 6 p.m., we have the discipline of doing one more. When you're exercising and your trainer telling you one more and you're feeling like everything's shaking and you're ready to give up. Okay. So build resilience and prosperity through repetition. Because even when I started with exercise and now, of course, with repetition, things are getting easier. So Wednesday is really, really important in terms of dealing with the discipline of doing one more, because sometimes In doing the one more, that is where you get the breakthrough. And on Thursday, we have counseling and consultations. From 6, we have celebration before domination. So we would be examining this, the habits of appreciation that build goal motivation. And I know, of course, of Anastasia and Mr. Eshiel was talking about the importance of gratitude. So this will also be examined on Thursday. And after that, we will be exercising from 7 to 8 p.m. On Friday, we have counseling and consultations, and then free to be from 3. And on Saturday, we have our fun rise and ride, a day of riding and adventure. If you have a bike, of course, it is free. If not, the bike rental is $150 at Shagaramas. And we would be riding around Shagaramas. We would be meeting at the Macquarie Beach car park for 7 a.m. And we would be getting a tour through Shagaramas on that day. So for those who are interested, you could WhatsApp Fun to 336-1809 to register now. And also, we would be at the First Citizens Girls First Festival. So on Sunday, it would be held at the Bishop Anstey High School East, Trin City. And next week, Sunday, which is the 20th, it would be held at Magdalena Grand in Tobago. So Befitment would be there interacting with the girls for that. Hopefully we will do a live. So for those who are not there, of course, you can join us live. And of course, we have our Be Active schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. It comes with membership, which is $96 a month. And of course, it is at the Befitment Balance Center and also online for those who cannot physically come. And if you would like to register, of course, you could WhatsApp BFit the 336-1809. So, guys, before we go, let me give you the Genius Goals question for this week. And again, I know Catherine spoke of December, but in December, when the winner is announced, do not say I should have, could have, because you did not enter. So for tonight's question, and of course, I am hoping that they take me along with them to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For tonight's question, it is, of course, it would be posted online. I choose to celebrate the small wins at every step. So essentially, Befitment is allowing you to create your celebration list. So every time you win, you would look at your list and say, okay, I will do this today. Because right now, a lot of people sitting and they don't even know what to do or how to celebrate. So this is your opportunity to create your celebration list. So moving forward, with every small win I experience, I will celebrate by, and you would list all the different things. Just as Anastasia was speaking about, she has to expand her list because she would like it to not only be enjoying eating, because it could be other things. So this is your opportunity to create your celebration list. What would you like to enjoy? What would you like to experience? You probably always wanted to go to the circus. You haven't been to the zoo in a while. You haven't been to the beach in a while. You haven't been to theater in a while. You haven't been to the movies in a while. You haven't been on a solo date in a while. You haven't been on a friend date in a while. You haven't been on a cousin's date in a while. So you see how many different things you could add to your list? You have a lot of things you could add to your list. And for this week, celebrate something. It does not mean that you have to go and sit in a restaurant and spend $1,000. Celebrate something. And also ensure, I would include it as well, ensure that your list the list that you create, it promotes gratitude. And of course, that would also encourage motivation. So I will include it as well in the question that is listed online. Ensure that your list promotes gratitude, which would also increase your motivation to celebrate the next time. and to continue winning so that you would build momentum and maintain your momentum. And of course, in order to know how to build and maintain your momentum would be discussed in further detail this week. So if it is something that you are interested in, let us know. And guys, it is simple. Just as you are logged on here right now, you don't have to turn on your camera. You don't have to turn on your mic. It is the same thing. If you have any questions, you ask the questions. And of course, again, it is in way greater depth than what is being explained right now. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Once you join once, I know Anastasia could tell you. Anastasia, are you there?
Yeah,
Once you join once, it is hard to not join again.
true.
It is Mondays, the tip of the iceberg in comparison to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So guys, think about it. Create your list. I would be asking who celebrated what this week. Even if you cook a little crab and dumpling or something you haven't eaten in a while, find something to celebrate. Or you went to the movies, you haven't been to the movies in 10 years. Find something, and in doing so, you would increase your gratitude, and then you would get more things to celebrate in life. So guys, thank you for logging on to this tonight's session. I will be asking you next week about celebration. Do not forget. So if you buy yourself an ice cream, you went and sleep earlier instead of scrolling on your phone, whatever it is, celebrate. And I will see you all back here on Monday, same place, same time. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful, mindful, celebratory week.
Good night.
Good night.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday is 7
Wednesday,
o'clock.
6 to
7.
7. 6 to
6
7.
to 7.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good night.
You are most welcome.
Good night.
Good night.